Let's see if this works. The audio just gonna be weird. We're just gonna do this shit and then delete it. All right, we're just gonna use this little webcam. Look at me. Look at my face. All right, so I was trying to do like a highbrow setup, and it just wasn't. It wasn't letting the bitch live. So here we go. We're just gonna do this. It's gonna be real 1998 cam girl style. Show you some titty, but no, because mine don't look cute. And it's 10 o'clock. We're gonna do what it do. I'm a little underway now, but whatever. Whatever. We can't stress this. Stress is awesome, right? We tried it. All right, my cousin did my hair. I'll have a whole video on it because bitch is gonna be mad, but I'm happy. And it is what it is. All right, get the little delectable artwork in the back. All right, so first up on PopSnark, let's talk about B. Smith and her white and her white husband. No bitch. B. Smith is married to a black man, Daniel something, and he's taking care of B, who is. I have pictures and all this other stuff set up. I'm gonna just have to. We're gonna redo this like next week. Because I'm a little frustrated because I did a lot of preparation today. I got up, did yoga at 8 a.m. and then, like, yesterday for this and then now nothing. But, oh, wait. It's everything from the low but of the highbrow. Let's clink, 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 clink. Thank you for all y'all that waited. Thank you for all that time, y'all bathroom breaks, y'all showers, y'all studying, y'all procrastination around joining me for this. I really do appreciate you. I do. But, I had all these pictures playing and stuff. I had a little video clip. All right. So B. Smith's husband, right? B. Smith is like, I don't even feel comfortable saying she's the black Martha Stewart because she is the predecessor to Martha Stewart. B. Smith was doing this shit first. I remember taking my mama to B. Smith restaurant in D.C. and I kept asking, like, yo, what happened to her restaurant? What happened to her restaurant? Because she had a really nice restaurant in Washington, D.C. Now, B. Smith has been suffering from Alzheimer's for the past 5 or so years. And recently, in a Washington Post article, they went into her house and wrote up about her relationship with her husband. And it was exposed that her husband wasn't exposed because the husband is the one that pitched the article. But they covered his live-in white girlfriend and B. Smith's stepdaughter and her husband's biological daughter. So this is where I stand with this, right? I don't actually have a problem with him having a relationship outside of B. Smith. Because when you go through having a loved one dealing with degenerative diseases like that, where like, not only do they like forget who you are, they also like forget how to eat. They forget how to, like, that's basically how you die from Alzheimer's. Is like you slowly just forget how to live. And there's just something emotionally that I can't, if I'm not dealing with it, who am I to judge? But what I do absolutely have a problem with is this woman living in the house. Like, have your relationship. Go out for tea. Suck some titty on a Saturday, right? At her house. You do not move this woman into your wife's house. I have an issue with him using his wife's brand, his wife's audience, his wife's means to facilitate this relationship. That's the problem. And then you're like getting a show on Bravo. You're coming out with a podcast, a book. You're allowing this, and like, yeah, it's problematic to watch a white woman profit off of the labor of a black wife. But girl, marriage don't benefit black women. You see this? You see how this is working out? And he didn't need to promote it. Like, he didn't. You could have get your dick wet on the side, bruh. But ain't nobody need to know this. It doesn't need to become its own franchise because you're not doing it off the labor of your work, off the labor of like the audience or the brand that you built. You are doing this off the back of the woman who you made a vow to. And that's the whole issue, right? I think a lot of us could be a lot more forgiving if it was like, she's slowly losing herself and this person provided me emotional support and we became close over time and y'all kept that out of the household, but you are bringing this into this woman's house, and for that you are purely, entirely, 100% trash. Now, if you're here for it, this is a struggle, you can hit the super chat and you can donate. I don't know what that is do, but you could do it. So I'm just branding. Today, did I tell y'all what I was drinking before the struggle? It's rose lemonade. I actually keep these in the house. They're really good. And 3 Olives rosé vodka. So actually, I have a video that I recorded with Yoshi. She's the mixologist here in Charlotte. And I just need to edit the video. It's really dope. We are showing you how to be your best thoughtful life in 2019 and not order Long Island's or Amaretto sours when you out on a date. Trying to keep it classy, trying to keep it cute. Girl, but here we is. All right, let's move on. Next topic. 21 Savage and the ICE detention. All right. Damn, I had like pictures and ish. Wow. Okay, so 21 Savage was picked up by ICE. What has it been, like over a week ago? And I guess it came out. We all suddenly realized that 21 is not an actual American citizen. He was born in the UK. His parents are from Dominica, which is an island in the Caribbean. It's not the Dominican Republic. It's funny though, because there's actually a Dominica, I don't know what you call it, but there's shout out to you. You bad dope too, sir. Thank you, Elias. There is a population, what do you call them? People from Dominica in Houston, Texas. And the guy who actually edited my bail reform video, Tremaine Townsend, he's from Dominica. And now that I think of it, he doesn't look like 21 Savage, but him, Tremaine and 21's mother do look a lot alike. Tremaine's actually very attractive. He's a very good-looking young man. But, yeah, I actually don't know what the actual term is for someone from Dominica. But, he was detained by ICE, and there was a bunch of misinformation going around. Now, I absolutely am 120% here for abolishing ICE. ICE serves no purpose. It is I want to say it's like the Gestapo, essentially. It is a state-run agency that is aggressive, it's brutal, it's violent, and I just feel like it is imperialism at its worst. And I mean, we live in an imperialist nation, so duh. But ICE wasn't around until, I believe, 2007, maybe? Like, it's definitely a post 9/11 concept. And it is absolutely meant to terrorize Black and brown people. Like, we are a nation of immigrants. Let's just be clear here. I've had friends who've overstayed their visas from Australia, from various parts of Europe, people that are white passing or wealthy white passing people, and they don't get picked up by ICE. And literally all they do is hop on a plane, go back home or a layover for a day, and then come right back to this country and start all back over again. And so I feel like ICE was trying to make an example of 21, because what has been going on in this whole immigration conversation, we have not been talking about how Black immigrants get caught up in this system, right? Because I think, and I mean, this is where this is kind of why I've waded into like the African diaspora conversations, even though the comments are always a shit show. Because I think, this conversation we have amongst the diaspora on Twitter is just very stupid. Like, it reeks of pseudo-history, of not understanding the history that precedes you, of not understanding the uniqueness, and also the cultural ties that we all share. And on all sides, we all participate in sort of like this derogatory view of each other. But I think the bad part is that we have very narrow views of what it means to be on each side. And so it's like we part of that is like, we think of immigrants, particularly Black immigrants, either as simply, like, most of us just think of Nigerians when it comes down to it, or like the African immigrant, and we've met and they have parents who went to college. They might still be financially struggling, but we don't think of, like, we don't even understand the hardships that various different countries go through, right? And that even in this South American immigration issue that's happening, there's a lot of people from Honduras, Black folks from Honduras, who are getting caught up in the detention centers, who are having their children stolen from them. Like, this is absolutely an issue that impacts people of the African diaspora. And so I feel like all that to say that they were making an example of 21. Like, he was used as, it was a ploy, It doesn't really have any legal standing. It's stupid. But look at the administration. Like, who's really going to counter them? Who's going to punish ICE for doing wrong? Oh, damn, nigga, hold $20. You big money out here. Well, thank you. I don't know what I'm supposed to do what this does, but thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, I think they were making an example of him. Now, it's wrong. There was no reason for him to be detained. I mean, he doesn't have any control over it. Like, when your parents bring you over here, and besides, he's a UK, right? Like, before we even get to any of this, like, all the semantics of what his mama should have did, could have did, didn't do, he's British, technically. But I think ICE made that move because in the UK, we're going through, what is it? Is it the Windrush? Bitch. Hit that Google. I believe it's the Windrush scandal, right? In that a lot of immigration from black countries to both America and the UK was allowed because of labor issues, right? That's why I keep saying, like, we are all a lot more entangled than we think we are. There has always been, like, a fluidity of migration from the Caribbean into United States since, like, the beginning of the transatlantic slave trade, because labor. And so at the same time that you see immigration opening to black countries in America, which was in part because of the civil rights movement and then also in part because of the need for labor, you see it happening in the UK. And so the UK opened its doors and allowed essentially a lot of Caribbean and mostly Jamaican people to come into the country to help build up their labor force because they had a low labor supply. And now they're trying to, 60 years later? Well, 1960s. So it's 50, 60 years later, they're trying to deport these people because when they opened their doors, they didn't put everyone through the proper process. So in the 1960s, we didn't have computers. We didn't have all these systems. Like the recent iteration of how immigration looks to most of these countries is a 2000s thing. So prior to post 9/11, there were a lot looser immigration laws. And so people just kind of, before the computer happened, people came in, and now they're deporting people who they're claiming are not residents or legal citizens of the UK. And I mean, low key, like, I think people were pointing out, like, if ICE wanted to roll up on a black person and say, you're not a citizen of this country, there's a lot of us that would be asked out. Like, there's very little separating us from being in the predicament that 21 Savage is in. Because technically, if you were born in the UK, ICE is not picking you up when you overstay your visa. There are tons of British people here, lollygagging, hip it happening, cheerio, mate, and shit, and they not getting deported. Girl, no. So I honestly feel like that was just about making an example of him. But it's going to, I think, fortunately, because of the awareness and one of the benefits of social media is that we can get, I think, they obviously people quickly quashed people making jokes, and we're going to get to that. People making jokes about Savage being deported or ICE picking him up, making humor of it. Now, I don't think it's wrong to make jokes about 21 Savage possibly being British and more so just not being Black American. I actually don't think I think it's wrong to make jokes about ICE because fuck ICE. But, like, I think in the age of where, like, the Black immigrant, second generation, first generation Black experience in America is, one, being highly commodified and entering into the pop culture context. And if we are to understand that there is a cultural difference in someone who has parents from somewhere else, and here's 21 Savage, who is very much so Zone 6, East Atlanta, which is a very significant part of, like, Black American culture. And he is embedded in that. Why can't we be bemused or, have conversation about, like, what's this nigga home voice, right? Because if everyone sits up here and does the code switching, they could talk like they're elders and they could talk like, an everyday Black millennial. I just want to know, how does 21 go to what's his real name? He got a real Muslim name. How he go talk to his grandma? What he sound like when he talking to her? Because I know he ain't like, yeah, man. Yeah. He ain't pulling the nigga shit with her. How he sound like at home? That's what we want to know. And I think there is, I think there's room to have a level of bemusement around, like, culturally how his home experience might differ from what we assume of someone being from Zone 6. All right, let me scroll back. Y'all making, I mean, it's like to say that humor is a problem when it's on in front of non-black people. Like, look, we are 13% of the American population. We can't even assume that the space that I have on YouTube is firmly black anymore. Like, where does, like, wholly black spaces exist? First of all, the foundation of black American culture is that it's always been commodified by the colonizer. That's what people misconstrue when I was talking about we don't have a sacred space. It's not that our culture isn't sacred. It's that we have not been given room to really keep it sacred to us because of capitalism. We absolutely. Oh, I thought you said we didn't have a culture. We do have a culture, but you was right. Okay. So that's my take on 21 Savage. I hope that he can get his due. I hope he gets his money back. I hope that the lawyers really can step in, and that if anything, this ends up biting Ice in the butt, in the back, whatever. I hope this ends up screwing Ice over, and that we can set a precedent for other people, black and brown people in this country, to counter the unlawful forced deportations of people that have every right to be in this country. Somebody was making a comment about ancestry. All right, as a person who has done ancestry on my whole family, I'm gonna tell you, like, doing my family history now, actually my cousin, this haircut happened because of ancestry, low key. So I've been putting together both of my parents' family tree, and my dad is a proctor. And the proctors were free black men in St. Augustine in northern Florida in the 1700s, right? And it turns out I kind of knew this history before, but I never really paid attention to it until I did the ancestry. And then so the girl that did my hair, we be like fourth or fifth cousins. Our great grandmothers were sisters. Rebecca and Charlotte Proctor were sisters, and Rebecca then trickled down and had Kyra. Then Charlotte then trickled down, and my other Charlotte, Celestine, Charlotte, my dad, me. Here we are. But one of the things that I had learned from doing my family tree on both sides is, one, like, the black family never really existed as a nuclear unit. Niggas was fucking whatever they could. Like, before the TV, let me tell you, when you pull up your family tree, you realize your grandpappy had 25 kids. First of all, my great grandfather was born in 1852. My granddaddy's dad, like my dad, my grandfather, the nigga before him, was born in 1852. He was 100 years old when my daddy was born in 1952. He was 75 when my grandfather was 75 years old. This nigga was just out here. He might have been sticking his dick in everything, because mad other niggas be popping up on that ancestry DNA test, and we can't figure out how we're related, but we look alike. Look, so what I'm saying is, I think a lot of people, if they ever sat down to do their family tree, I'm not endorsing that you give up your DNA, but if you ever sat down to do your family tree, you would be highly surprised at how different your family tree is from what you expected. In that there's a lot of cross-sectoring, because folks was just having babies with whoever was closest by. A lot of people, you can't even trace where they came from or where they're born. I was surprised at how much, one, everyone's family traces back to South Carolina, and then how much there are people that just pop up from the Caribbean. Throughout history, like 1800s, born in Jamaica and somehow was just up in Florida picking oranges. I mean, that's not unusual, but that's pretty much what happened to my family. So I'm just saying, like, even if you thought you were going to use Ancestry to verify who's Black American, I feel like a lot of people won't get their feelings hurt. A lot of folks. That's why I keep saying, like, a lot of us think phenotype and what we know from our grandparents, but you pop up, do that DNA, and then realize, oh, my great-grandma was a white woman. Oh. You know what I mean? Some of us, I mean, there's just a lot of variables, and then what happens? It's not trustworthy. All right. let's talk about the Grammys. Who watched? Because I didn't. I caught the highlights and there weren't that many of them. I wanted to talk about Cardi B's outfit because I thought it was ugly. And I don't know if it was the outfit or was it wasn't Offset as an accessory that bothered me more. Because I'm of the opinion, so she wore Thierry Mugler from like the vintage, the 90s are now vintage. My goodness, we're old. She wore like it was like a Cruella de Vil, like Ursula type piece, and I just didn't really get it. But I'm also of the opinion that I don't need to get everything, and so like I didn't really care for it. But I'm not on her team, and I think her team does a really good job otherwise. And all the other looks I really did enjoy. So I'm like, maybe it just wasn't for me to get. But I feel like Offset out there looking like a wet rag, just a dirty wet rag. It just wasn't. It wasn't. It wasn't. It threw the whole thing off. I know they were making a statement. Cardi has her own agency. Do what you want, sis. I get why she took him back because who else she gonna fuck? It's hard out here for celebrity women. But I just wasn't. I wasn't feeling it. Ooh, scenes. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Dag. I was trying to figure out. We'll do that. I'm gonna get this down later because I'm adding some damn pictures the next time because I had them all compiled. J Lo doing the Motown tribute. That was just whack. And yes, J Lo is a good performer. I watched it. I wasn't actually mad at the skill she presented or the talent as a performer because she can't really sing. She presented, but it's like when you understand the history of Motown, particularly the struggle of black women performers and how Berry Gordy would not let black women be at all sexualized. Like they could never perform as J Lo performed because they were stopped. They had to present a certain image. There were certain things that had to happen because of the politics of that time. So on top of there are plenty of black women performers and singers who are maybe not experiencing the same exact thing as Motown singers, but are facing very similar struggles and breaking through to the mainstream and getting the accolades and accomplishments that the success that they deserve, right? As in like Jasmine Sullivan, Lettucey, Fantasia. The crop of girls that's out here that could have very well did a performance. And so I just don't understand why Smokey out here caping for J-Lo, Jenny from the Block, a white passing Latino who be shaking that booty that I'm like, girl, my sister got a bigger butt than that. I got a bigger butt than that. I don't get the appeal. But I mean, I guess this was like promotion for like her Las Vegas residency. If that's still happening, but it just didn't make any sense in the contextual history of Motown to have Jennifer Lopez do that tribute. None. I don't care if she looked good doing it or not. She wasn't the one. Okay? What else happened at the Grammys? I don't know. Did something else happen other than Cardi winning Best Rap Album and BET being absolutely wrong? If Media Takeout or the Shade Room or like a gossip rag posted that tweet about Nicki shaking in her lace front or whatever because Nicki's never won a Grammy, but Cardi won a Grammy, then maybe. But BET, who profits off of Nicki putting out music and profits off of Nicki performing for them, and they are essentially business partners with her and her label and Young Money, absolutely should have not. Like, I get y'all trying to keep up with Boss Up and The Root with the shady bylines, but know your place, know your manners, and y'all overstepped it, and y'all are wrong. I also like Cardi deleting her Instagram. I really just want old girl. She don't need to delete her social media, but I absolutely want her. She needs to limit the access people to have to her and like get out her own DMs. Because like at this point you are making way too much money for like anonymous people on the internet to be bringing you down this badly. Like you have too much to lose to keep letting these people get up under your skin and essentially potentially drive you crazy. I've been trying to be more cognizant. I'm doing my yoga, I'm about to start doing acupuncture. I'm trying to be more cognizant about the stress I absorb because like we as women, particularly as black women, we really do be killing ourselves with the level of stress and anxiety that we take on. Like, I'm really about not absorbing any negativity. I'm going to stop using negative language about myself. I'm absolutely not absorbing anything negative that exists about me on the internet. Like, let them hoes exist where they exist at. I'm not checking for nothing. I'm not, I like, if I see a comment start to be negative, I'm just going to skim over it. I'm not reading that shit no more. Like, I'm just not indulging it. I'm going to be a lot more protective of my energy because, like, we really, like, when you absorb so much negativity, like, there, even if you're a person who maybe people aren't talking negatively about you, but, like, you hate watch a lot of content, because it's easy to do that on YouTube, right? Like, we're so used to being fed constant content that sometimes we get bored and it's easier just to go down the rabbit hole of, like, stuff we don't actually like. Especially when people put all their business up on YouTube and they do, like, daily vlogging. And don't, I'm not even going to participate in that. If I start seeing something and I'm questioning the way a person lives, I'm going to log off. Because there is no way to absorb all that negativity and it not negatively impact you and your internal well-being. And so I'm just going to be a lot more careful about how I engage online with the constant, like, I like watching T-Spill, who's like, but I'm gonna start slowing myself down on how much I absorb stuff like that, because one, like half the time I be watching that stuff, and then you want to go dig and like look and see how people responded and see what happened for yourself, and it don't really do nothing for you. Like, it's not paying none of my bills. It's taking up time when I should be getting other work done. I need to get this book club up. I need to figure out how I'm gonna do the podcast. Like, there's all these other things I should be doing that giving myself any time for negativity is a whole waste of time. Bitch got bills, and negativity ain't paying my bills, right? And I think that's what we all need to do better at, okay? Alright, so today I posted a video about Kamala Harris. I'm actually very proud of the video because the bitch is looking fine. I'm looking real good. We serving looks. We serving lace fronts wear. The eyeshadow's hitting. The lashes are hitting. The skin is hitting. The hair color look hitting. I might be talking a little fast. My bad. I'm just a fast talker. But there's captions. Slow the video down, sis. You can do that, all right? Hitting. And I have control set on the comments. So, like, because I see a certain movement trying to come into the comments and derail the video. And I'm like, sis, I took 13 minutes and I came with facts and clarity. You might just want to rewatch it and take your time. But all that to say, I've done a video on Kamala Harris, and the TLDR is I think she's a very complicated persona. I don't disagree with either side of black folks who are educated on politics that either support her or don't support her. But overall, my sentiment is I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. She's a front runner right now. I'm going to wait, and I would like her to, she's not, right now the interviews in my book, the interviews aren't going too well. The whole Breakfast Club thing. You went to college in 1986, wasn't no way you was smoking weed to Tupac and Biggie, maybe Kool Herc, maybe Sugar Hill Gang, maybe them sis, but not the Tupac and Biggie in 1986 sis. You got your facts wrong trying to be smooth. But I just want her to be a little bit more genuine. Like, I think she's just going to have to own the fact that she had a privileged upbringing, that she is a wealthy black woman, that a lot of her experience doesn't necessarily personally relate to black folks, but that the work she's done and the interaction that she's come into, she doesn't have the grandmother who had a farm in Mississippi who she went to visit. She don't have that. She got the Indian diplomat daddies from the highest caste system in India. She got munties. She probably ate some bomb-ass butter chicken and biryani and mango lassi growing up. Sis, living your truth. Pass the sorrow, okay? It's fine. But I just want her to find that space to, like, the pandering don't look good on her. And we already, like, So I want her to be a little bit more genuine and just speak from the educated space of, like, this is how my politics have evolved. This is why I am qualified to do this position, and here are what my policies are going to look like. Now, my opinion on Cory Booker is an absolute no for me, sis. He looks like a Q-tip. He's pandering, he's been pandering since 1996. He screwed over Newark in the education system. He's a corporate shield. He is in the pockets of big pharma. My nigga look like a Q-tip. He just remind me of all the things I dislike about light-skinned black folk. And I'm just not interested. Like, no. Nah, I'm good. I'll pass. I guess otherwise we're waiting to hear. I don't think Bernie is viable as a presidential candidate because of age. I guess Beto might run, and again, I think that just comes down to persona. Like, this is my thing when it comes down to politicians. It's easier to look positively about politicians who either rule over homogenous states or who have shorter political careers because they are allowed to be a lot more idealistic in their approach. I don't think there's any long-standing politician who doesn't have dirty hands because politics are just dirty, and that's the name of the game. And I would love to dismantle this current political system, but I don't know if I want to live through this dismantling of our democracy because that means violence. But I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay, let's just make it happen. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm kind of cautious about saying, oh, Beto would be ideal because Beto's a junior senator, and then he was not a junior senator. He was a congressman in El Paso. So he just has a shorter trajectory, and he has a bit more of a homogenous, well, not homogenous, but he just has a different, like, it's a small town. It's like, it's just a different level of issues that you're tackling as a congressperson from El Paso than you are as an attorney general from the state of California. Bit of different dynamics, right? So I really want Kamala to find her groove. That's where I'm at with that. Biden, if we are going to pound into the 1994 crime bill and use that against Hillary Clinton, then we absolutely have to use it against the man who wrote the bill, which would be one Joe Biden. My former senator actually liked Biden a lot, but his hand in the maligning of Anita Hill during the Clarence Thomas hearings, and then his absolute refusal to apologize for the 1994 crime bill. My nigga, I don't know. And if y'all gonna be like, oh, Obama wasn't a great president, well, Biden was his VP, so what we doing here? The Castro brother. Okay, so the word on the curb with the Castro brother who's running is that a lot of people don't. The twin that's running is a twin people don't dislike him, but they don't care for him. He's not the twin with personality. They like the other twin, which I want to say is Joaquin. And I just haven't heard a lot of noise around Julio's nomination. I also don't know. I think right now Elizabeth Warren is really caught up with this Native American scandal, which I'm like, girl, why'd you do that? I don't know. It's early. Things can change. It feels very like womp womp. Like, I just really want us to focus, and this is how I ended my Kamala Harris video, that focus on local elections. People are in the comments talking about Black agenda, and I'm like, girl, on the federal level, what is Black agenda? People are listing all these things like reparations and land rights. You want your 40 acres and a mule. You want the money. You want corporations that benefited from slavery to pay Black people. You want criminal justice reform. You want better education. You want access to health care. A lot of those things are going to come down to state, county, and local policy. And that's my whole point. Like, there's not really a Black agenda on the federal level. There is absolutely a Black agenda on the state level. Like, let's start with a Black agenda in South Carolina, Mississippi, in Maryland. If you ever dug in, like, I read this book on the public housing system, the history of the public housing system and Black women in Baltimore, like one city. And you realize how much the government, just like, essentially the public housing was like marketed as like the 40 acres and a mule for Black folks, right? Because originally it was working class Black people like getting steeply discounted housing. But they started building subsequent housing on the worst land, giving you the worst managers, like all these systemic issues. Like the federal government granted the land to be built for public housing and then set restrictions on who the housing could be given to. And then the local state governments would like kick black folks off the land originally, then sell the land to someone else to buy it back. Like did this whole like alley oop thing so that they could make more money off the land to sell it to the government. Right? Like you can see this in a lot of cities, right? Where they would kick black folks out of the town and then zone it, or not even kick folks out. They would get the black neighborhood and zone it so that you couldn't build any businesses there, and then everyone would have to like move, and then they leave their houses and then they build the neighborhood up and then charge them triple, double the amount to get back into the same houses. I forget the term for it, but like it's a consistent theme across the history of just about every city that has a black population, right? Which is why I keep saying, y'all gotta understand the political infrastructure at play here. This is not just about the president having a black agenda. That's a talking point, and you're gonna be disappointed because federal law could be passed, but if the states don't institute it, what you getting? Nothing, sis. So that's what I mean. I want people to be invested in their local politics because it also means we just have a better selection when it comes to the actual presidential election. If we start earlier with supporting local and political candidates. Yes. All right. There's actually, if you're in Charlotte, the local library here has been bringing out the author Richard Rothstein of The Color of Law, and they've been doing talks like once a month. I think it's running until March, where they do like local community talks to help educate residents of Mecklenburg County on the history of redlining and how the color of law applies to the history of like Charlotte, North Carolina in particular. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna save this video, girl, because it's been a whole struggle. Okay, so closing out. Ooh, girl, this is kind of a bit heavy. Y'all, is there anything light you want me to talk about? There's something light, because we about to talk about Virginia. I think I'm gonna figure out my setup and get it together because I really wanted it to look nicer and have pictures. I like the way Funky Deneva's been doing. I'm all out of frame. I like the way Deneva's been doing his lives, but I know he has someone setting them up for him. And so I want to get this set up so it's a little bit more engaging in that you guys can participate during the live and then it's actually enjoyable to watch after, because right now this video is just 15 minutes of me looking being like, damn bitch, fuck what, I can't figure it out, and then be in an echo and all that stuff. So I'm probably going to take it down. I started off talking about B. Smith. Okay, Amanda Seales special. It was actually enjoyable. I was ready not to like it, but I enjoyed it. Why did they sound familiar? Who's still live all day? I don't have cable, but I need to go back and watch Boomerang. Yes, it's on my to-do list. Oh, the nigga. Okay, we could talk about the nigga with the white wire talking about toast light skinned kids. But let's talk about Virginia first. All right, so what's happening in Virginia? We have the governor, the Democratic governor. First of all, that was a hotly contested election. We have the first Black lieutenant governor in Virginia. Virginia has a peculiar history when it comes to slavery. It was a large slave port. And then the Democrats were able to wrangle power from the Republicans to take over the governor's house. The issue is now that there is a picture of Ralph Northam in blackface or a KKK outfit. One of the, like, nigga, in the 1980s in college. Also, Justin Fairfax has been accused by 2 women now of sexual assault. For me, this is not a cut and dry scenario. With Justin Fairfax, I am 1 degree of separated from both women who have accused Fairfax of sexual assault. Fairfax needs to resign. There is no way for him to serve the people and serve his constituents without bias, while dedicating his full capabilities to the role, while undergoing an investigation for sexual assault. I don't, though, and it sucks to say that the black man needs to resign. I don't know that the answer to Northam having a blackface picture from 1986 or 1980s or whatever it was. The answer to correcting that history is to say that we have to cancel you. So this is what happens. What happens when you cancel all the powerful men? Where do they go? They don't just disappear into the wayside, right? I think that we have to have a better way to deal with issues that we can acknowledge there was an evolution in society about the way we view these. Like, yes, blackface has always been wrong, but for societally, for quite a while, there was a humor that people thought was okay in blackface. And so I'm actually here for Northam staying in the governor's house and paying penance by enacting a black agenda in the governor's office, right? By doing things that are very pro-civil rights, by being a much more progressive candidate to make up for the fact that he made a big fuck up. I don't have a problem with him doing that. There has to absolutely be a different way. I mean, because if we're going to cancel, if the response to you had blackface or you wore, it's like, because this is what you have to remember. We cannot work in scarcity, right? We cannot work and we're just going to kick everyone out because we're better than them, right? You have to say, if when you set a precedent that someone should be kicked out, absolutely canceled, removed by because of blackface, you're also setting another precedent for when we evolve as society and we understand that, well, wearing a sombrero is racist. Wearing a Native American feather thing is racist. You know, when we as a society realize how we are oppressing other cultures by appropriating, by mocking, by feeding into racial derogatory stereotypes of them, a lot of folks is going to lose their job. And it's just, I think there just has to be a better way in which we correct the way this happened. You know, I absolutely just think that we have to be honest about how we have evolved as a society. That there really are things in our society that we can firmly say have always been wrong. But we socially accepted them as the status quo. Right, the 1980s was 30 years ago, bro. I know what I'm talking about. Like, Reagan was president. Do you know what the 1980s was? The 1980s was like a lot of black folks. If we went back and looked at the politics of black politics in the 1980s, a lot of folks we wouldn't be admiring no more, right? You are in the heat of the Reagan era, the heat of respectability politics, the idea that like you do not want to be a welfare queen. We had an entire political campaign ran around this white woman who was misusing welfare, and they castrated her as she was a black woman. They characterized her as a black woman from the south side of Chicago, and it was a white woman with a jerry curl. All right, like that's what the 1980s were. Like, let's not get it twisted about what was happening in the 1980s. There was a picture in that same yearbook of a black man smiling, drinking a beer with people in KKK outfits with a nose around his neck. And he thought that shit was funny. They called dude up in 2019. He was like, I don't even remember taking that picture. But it was dumb of me. Like, people had bad politics in the 80s. A lot of people were bad. You know what I mean? Like, it was just, there's a lot of shit that has happened in our history that's bad. I'm not saying that dude shouldn't be punished. Absolutely. I think there does need to be a punishment. There does need to be a way in which he repays for his bad behavior. I just don't know if resignation is that answer. I think there is definitely a different way in which we deal and we fake, because what we need to change is the fact that, like, You cancel all these powerful people because they wore blackface. They just gonna go, they gonna go do their own. They still gonna control the power because they all gonna be in the same room together. You know, you don't put El Chapo in jail with all his people. He's gonna dig a tunnel and get out. You don't put them all in the same place. So I think there needs to be a. It's complicated and it's not easy and it doesn't necessarily, because I think what happens is canceling people makes us feel powerful. Canceling and saying, look, I'm just not giving you any more of my labor, any of my time. You are done. We are removing power from you. It feels good. But, where are you looking for new blood at? Like, we can't be talking about, oh, we'll just get somebody new in when we are not even, like, who sits on your school board? If you have kids in school, do you know who sits on your local school board? Who's your city commissioner? Can you name the judges in your county? What judge seats are currently open? Are you sponsoring a black person in law school right now? Do you know how people get appointed to the federal judgeship in your state? Like, we can't be talking about this idea that, like, oh, people are replaceable. And I'm not talking about preserving a system. I know that it can sound like that. But what I'm saying is I actually want to deal with correcting this bad behavior. I don't want to just put all the powerful men on one side of society and then we end up with what we have currently with the Overton window being shifted to their side, where suddenly certain behaviors become more acceptable because everyone done did it and everyone got kicked out to the other side. Because, I personally don't think Al Franken should have resigned. I just kept my mouth shut because I didn't really want to get into too much of the Me Too weeds and stuff. But I was just like, bruh, he is being accused of groping a woman when giving her a hug. As when he was a comedian in the early 90s. Like, there has to be another way to punish this behavior. Like, how many men in my life I could, like, if groping was a standard for them to lose their jobs, I could absolutely get them fired. And it's not that we're saying, oh, we accept this behavior and we just, oh, it's not that bad. No, it is that bad. But we find better ways to actually confront it versus just removing the person from our immediate frame. I'm not saying slap them on the wrist. I'm actually saying we need to find a way to confront it, but resignation can't be the only way to confront it. Because then we also put ourselves in a position where we remove all the powerful people to one side and we see it happening right now in the White House. They will absolutely find a way to shift, to agenda setting is the way we use the media and culture to shift cultural understandings, right? People will just shift it to their side. This is how the propaganda has existed for forever. There's just certain things that happen in society that continue. The history repeats itself over and over again. This is not the first time we have confronted things like these. And I feel like there has to be an absolutely different way in which we confront it. Damn. I'm saying we need to find a way to deal with it and to punish it. That's absolutely it. I do think Fairfax, I think sexual assault, forcing someone to suck your dick, essentially, raping a woman. Yeah, bruh. You're going to have to resign to that investigation over. And if it clears your name somehow, some way, then, you come back into the public conversation. But, yeah, no. Violence against other people, violence against communities, yeah, then you resign. That you resign for, and that you deal with privately. Fairfax got to go, and it's sad, and it's sorry. And what's wild to me about Fairfax, and I was like, because, if he knew he wanted to be a politician since he was in college, my initial thought was like, if you knew you wanted to be a politician, you knew this was your trajectory, why engage in bad behavior? And then I remembered. I was like, bitch, you went to college with a nigga just like that. And in that moment, I was like, I believe these women. Because I went to college with someone at George Washington who wanted to be a politician. And I remember having this conversation with him about, like, you can't treat people the way you treat people, because these stories are going to come back to you. And he was like, it was all about a manipulation of power, right? It was about manipulating the story and thinking that you could, it was tantalizing to think that you could get away with this bad behavior. And, like, who's going to believe other people on your side? Like, even when I was in college in the early 2000s, yeah, no one, the way we talked about sexual assault and rape was entirely different. We still are pretty shitty at talking about sex and consent, but we've moved a lot since, in the past 10, 15 years. It's been a lot, but not enough. And so I'm not entirely surprised that someone like him, while in college in the 90s, and isn't he in a frat? Girl, yeah. Not surprised at all. And he definitely needs to privately reconcile and redeem himself outside of the office. Alright. Okay, what was somebody else saying? Somebody, the dude on, it's about to be a whole hour. The dude on first of all, it was his white wife. So the Jaleel Ade, whoever he is from to play football, was out with some friends. He recently had a child with his white wife, and ain't passed none of the melanin on to that baby. Whatever. And he was at a table full of black men and their non-black wives or non-black significant others or partners. And someone thought not only was it funny to make a joke, but they thought the white wife thought it was funny to post to Instagram. Look, we black folk, we know these conversations happening amongst, like, there are plenty of conversations you have with your family and things that you say that if they ever got posted on social media would be highly, like, you don't joke like that, you don't say things like that. I don't know why her dumb Becky blonde white ass posted that shit to Instagram. You thought, but you wasn't thinking, sis. And I'm not even pressed that was a table full of non-black women, because it ain't my problem to deal with. I'm not supporting you, and that shit is whack, and y'all can have each other. Girl, take it, leave me out of it. I don't even be interested in dating black men who've dated white women. I'd be like, nope, I'm good. Deuces, boo. You have a good day. I think there was one other thing someone mentioned, the light that was lighter. Girl, we was talking about Virginia for a minute, All right, well, I didn't watch Steve Harvey. We already talked about B. Smith. Girl, yes, I watched Abducted in Plain Sight and Firefly on Netflix. That was like the season of white mediocrity. Like, both of those shows were literally just about how white people can get away with bullshit because watch whiteness work. Like, a black person could not get away with any of those things. They would have been thrown under the jail. They would not be, Firefly was annoying because now that white guy who's willing to go suck dick for a case of Evian water is getting his own TV show or something. It's like, y'all, we reward white mediocrity in the wildest of ways. But, like, the way he was, like, talking about, oh boy, like, I don't want him to go to prison. I still admire him. I think he's still a really good guy. We don't talk about black people who behave badly like that. We do not. We do not. And then, Abducted in Plain Sight, where both the mother and the father slept with old boy who abducted their daughter. Bitch! And now they're on a tour doing a book tour? Y'all got me messed. That stuff, and then the Ted Bundy thing. It's literally just about, like, how white people can get away with doing stuff because of the way we perceive white folk. That literally is it. But, alright, it's been an hour, y'all. Thank you so much for sticking around. Thank you for the donations that have been made. I don't know where they went or how it worked. I don't know what's happening here. This has been real wild. I think we're gonna try this again. The camera's here. Hello, the camera. So we're gonna try this again next week. This was fun though. I really enjoyed this, and if I can just get my setup to where I want to do things that are like nicer. I don't want this half stepping. This ain't really. I'm not really feeling it. But thank you, and I'ma holla at. Oh, it's 400 of y'all on here now. We chilling. We having a good time. Thank y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed, and good night.